Hey, what's up, my YouTube friends and family? Hope you guys are doing well. I am relaxing in the sleeper right now. As I mentioned in another video, I kind of have a little back issue going, and I'm doing my reset. I had the option of pushing on into Dallas. I'm actually not going to Dallas, I'll be outside of Dallas. It's like 6 more hours worth of drive. I'm in West Memphis at the moment. And I did the math and I realized if I just sit here till tonight at midnight, I'll do my 34-hour reset. I can fire up early Monday, head out. It'll eat up a lot of my Monday hours, but it'll reset my 70-hour clock. Otherwise, by the time I'd have gotten unloaded in the Dallas area, I'd be down to 20 hours, which means in the middle of the week, I'd have to be parking myself. So I decided just to go ahead and sit. Plus, I got this small issue with my back. I should be doing laundry and, clean out the inside of the sleeper and, clean up the floors. I did a whole lot of snow this last week. I was in that northeast area, which I decided to pull out of there and come. I came east to Ohio. I came west to Ohio, and then yesterday south. I'm off the 40, obviously, and so I'll be in Dallas tomorrow. Maybe I'll try and run east and west and stay out of the north for a little bit. But since I'm just hanging out, relaxing, doing nothing, looking at the mess that's driving me nuts, and I wish I would clean up, I promised myself I was going to relax, take it easy, let my back muscles recuperate. I think I pulled a muscle or something. Anyway, so since I'm going to be in Dallas, I did have someone ask about the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Their primary question was, I believe, for Amazon Relay. And so we're going to fire that up and poke around Dallas and see what we find there. Once we look at Relay, I'll open up other load boards and see what else is there non-Relay. And then out of curiosity, I don't have a load booked yet leaving the area. So we'll see what my dispatch service finds, and then I'll come back and compare it to this. And if there's something probative there, if I get like something much, much better, I think I'll make another video and kind of show you guys why I use that company for dispatching. Now, a market like Dallas is kind of hard because there's a lot of trucks, and so it's hard to get a really good rate out of Dallas. I really took a load coming to Dallas, even though my dispatcher had told me, it's not a great market, but it gets you out of that northeast like you want. The other loads are heading down towards Georgia, and Georgia's just not a good market. Georgia's not a good market in any climate, period. Every time I've gone to Atlanta, it's not been good getting out. And so let's change this up. Well, I guess we could look around the Memphis area since I'm here. I do have it set to trailer required because I bring my own trailer. For my Amazon viewers that love that Amazon work, here's a load from Olive Branch to Fall River. Olive Branch is like butted up against Memphis. It's almost hard to tell where one city ends and the other one begins. Let me turn off the refresh there so it doesn't keep interrupting. There's another Olive Branch to Aurora, Illinois. I would expect that to go up substantially because a lot of people aren't going to want to go, either to Fall River. Illinois wasn't bad. As I came through, it was just cold, but I'm not sure what that snowstorm did. There's a load going to Las Vegas. I have done that load. I've done that exact load. In fact, that's how, when I was doing Amazon, that's how I would get home. I'm familiar with that shipper in Olive Branch, and I've taken loads from there. I believe they do filters, like air conditioning filters. The screens you put in the wall pre air conditioning, so when the air is recirculating. Anyways, really light load, even if they fill you to the gills. Only funny thing is, it's probably going to be 5 or 6 pallets that you can push by hand. But I've taken these loads to get myself home. Only the loads I've taken from there to Reno, typically is what it is, pay like 46, 4,700 bucks. And so hopefully that goes up and someone doesn't take it that cheap. There's another one heading out to Fall River, Petersburg, Virginia. There's another Fall River. I'm expecting by tomorrow these rates are going to go up substantially. I know people that are in the Northeast are parked, not wanting to move, so it'd make no sense for anyone to take something real cheap just to go get stuck over there. Anyway, there's another Fall River, another Fall River. There's a load going to Florida, which, you know, after the weather we're having right now, sunny Florida would be nice, except for the fact that you probably won't get out of there for over $1. It's just kind of how that market is. Another Fall River. There's another load going to Nevada. Henderson, for those of you that don't know, is in the same valley there with Las Vegas. It's another one of those, you cross a block and all of a sudden you're in Henderson versus being in Las Vegas. There's one going to Las Vegas itself. There's one going to Pennsylvania. Another Fall River. A lot of freight going to Fall River from here. But I've always thought Memphis was good for outbound freight. There's a lot of freight here. So if I was still running Amazon, I'd definitely be up at, 2, 3 in the morning expecting these loads to go up and try and make my best pick. But there's another Pennsylvania. There's one going to Charlotte. I'd warn you guys, CLT2 is kind of like FTW1, MEM1, and LGB8. They have a reputation for, you're going to sit there. I had a driver sit at MEM1 for 24 hours once. Anyway, there's one going to Maryland. And everything's under $2 a mile, but like I said, around midnight tonight, everything should pop up pretty good. There's another one going to Pennsylvania, another Charlotte. There's one going to Jersey. I've gone to Jersey and to New York. For as well as they pay, I don't think I'd shy away from them personally. A lot of people don't like going there. It is trying on your skills. You're going to have to pull your skill set out and be a little bit more of a sharpshooter. But for what my loads paid going over there, I'd go back. I'd wait for the storm to pass, but I'd go back. Anyway, so that's the bottom of the list. A lot of loads kind of all going in the same general area. I think the storm's going to slow down a lot of that freight. But, we'll see, and all we can do is wish our brothers and sisters that are out there driving in that well. And so we're going to check out Dallas. Oops, I hit Durham. All right, so let's see what Dallas has. A remarkable 3 loads. So there's a load coming back here to Memphis. I'm not familiar with that particular shipper, but if someone doesn't jump the gun and grab that too early, I'd look for that rate to double sometime tonight. Most Amazon loads coming this way peak out somewhere between like 12 and 1,600. In today's slow market, I wouldn't be surprised if 1,400 is its peak, but that's what I'd look to do it for, which, it's a day's work, $1,400 bucks, not too bad. There's a load going to Kansas, $1.68 a mile. I've not made that particular run, but for the sake of, the money I want to make, I'd look for it to be in that 1200 range also. And then there's another load, which it's not till Friday, so that one's not going to go up anytime soon. And so as you can see, the load board for inbound freight is pretty thin, especially considering how busy the Dallas market is. I'm not going to go into the power only and all that kind of stuff, primarily because I'm comparing it to what I'm going to try and get, just to make that example. And so here's, I forgot I had this. I think this is called ComFreight. As I've been making the videos, I've kind of realized some of my applications aren't functional. I'm trying to think which ones don't work. My Uber Freight and my 360, my logins don't work for some reason. And as I was trying to get them all logged in and up and running, I couldn't remember, but I knew I had more. And so I stumbled on this, and I signed up for it, never used it. I lie. It's not that I never used it. I looked for loads in it, but I never booked anything using it. But it's another load board. I don't think I paid anything for it. Honestly, I think this is kind of sponsored by a factoring company, because as you can see, it says haul pay approved. The idea here is, I believe it's a factoring company that's put together the load board to attract us truckers to come in, look at these loads, book them, and then they say, hey, while you're here, we can factor this for you. Anyway, so the drawback is, Total Quality Logistics has quite a few loads listed here, and I'll open up the details. TQL is just not real big on telling you what the rates are. Here we see what the average rate is, what the fuel cost is, the distance. I mean, that was the cool thing about this particular app, is it does kind of give you that breakdown, but unfortunately TQL just isn't cooperative with they don't share their rates unless it's on DAT. If you go to their load board, they don't show the rates there either. But for the sake of seeing what the market's like, we can still see, there's a Dallas to Illinois, there's Mansfield to Vernon, Texas, there's another Mansfield to Monday, Texas. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Why wouldn't it be spelled Monday like the day Monday? There's Garland to Oakland, California, Waco to Oakland, Dallas to Oakland, Tyler to Oakland, another Tyler to Oakland, Garland to Oakland, Mansfield to Monday. There's a Austin, Texas. There's a Vernon, Texas. And I'm kind of hoping these TQL loads run out. There's a Surge Transportation. Surge will show you their rate. I think I've hauled for them once, and it's not that anything went bad. I've just not found a load for them again. And so this particular app, if you click on the details, now that they're showing, the rate, it shows you when the load's going to be ready. It's a total of 900 miles. Load age is 4 hours, which means someone just loaded that here today sometime. I guess you can click on the up at the top here. Looks like you can click on Surge Transportation and see a little bit more information on them. And it says target rate, which is what they're asking for. And then at the bottom, it tells you what the average line haul rate is. It shows you the average rate per mile, your estimated fuel cost, your estimated revenue, and your total distance. And so it's not a bad app. Um, I think I've just never booked something with it just because, I never did. Not using this app anyways. Anyway, so there's Great Plains hauling from Texas to Tullison is kind of an industrial park area to the west of Phoenix. It's in the Phoenix area. Looks like they didn't divulge the rate, unfortunately. And then here's Grand Prairie, Texas to Tracy, California. KLX Logistics. Yeah, this kind of sucks because they're not listing their rates, and I think that's why a lot of people do book so much with Amazon. You can see the rate, you click, book, and it's almost like money in the bank. You don't really struggle with Amazon getting paid, so you get paid what you're looking for. There's a load from Garland to Mira Loma. There's a Grand Prairie to Mira Loma. There's another Grand Prairie to Mira Loma. Yeah, I think it kind of sucks these guys don't put their rate on there. And honestly, it's kind of why I use a dispatch service. I don't have time to make 30 phone calls only for me to find you're trying to get $1.25 a mile or something. Show what the rate is. If I'm interested, I'll call and we'll book a deal. So there's a load from Oklahoma to Richmond, Texas. Yeah, this is kind of a dud because, I can't show you guys what the rates are, unfortunately. But it shows you that there's activity, right? I mean, there's plenty of freight here. There's a $600 load. It's a full load at 45,000 pounds. Here's another one for $600. Lots of little short ones for $600. There's one for $650. Another one for $600. And so it seems like the short loads, at least some of the brokers are putting down what they're charging. There's a load to York, Oklahoma. There's a load out to San Antonio for $650. That seems to be the going rate between Dallas and Oklahoma. Unfortunately, it's not a great paying load. There's a lot of truck saturation. So there's a $3,000 load from Byron, Texas to Canton, MA. I believe that ends up being Massachusetts. Let's look at that one. I mean, that's probably like the higher paying load in the group here. And so this one is 900 miles. So 900 miles for $3,000. You're over. Wait, why did I say 900 miles? And over here it says distance 1851. I think I was looking at 9 a.m. My apologies, guys. Anyways, it's $3,000. The average for that lane apparently is a little bit more than that, and your rate per mile is $2, not $3. Sorry, had my head in my proverbial, I try not to use foul language here. And well, of course, there's also that weather condition over there, and it's it couldn't go much further out into Massachusetts. And so to get there, I will warn you, you're going to have to cross New York. So if you don't have an HUT permit for the state of New York, you're going to need one. Although the last few times I've been there, every way station's been closed. So that rate's a little on the low side compared to the lane. I don't know that they'd give you an additional, $700, but worst thing they can do is tell you no. And so there's one going to DeWitt, Arkansas. Another load to Arkansas, and unfortunately they're not showing their rates. There's a load from Oklahoma City to Abilene, Texas for $1,000. And I'm gonna try and just focus on the ones that show money on them so we can do real comparison. There's a short haul for $400. I don't waste my time on those. There's Gilmer, Texas to Oklahoma City for $600. There's 2158 going out to Pennsylvania. You know, in my travels to Pennsylvania, especially here that lately it's gotten really cold, they get a lot of ice advisories on the turnpike. And so just, if you're making that run, be careful, be aware. I tried not to run at night because of that. I kind of waited till the daytime, let the snow plows get out there, and you know, if they spin out, you know, they travel at a much slower speed. And so there's a load for $400, Brownwood, Texas, $250 for Frisco, Texas. There's a load to Shreveport for $500. There's an $800 load from Oklahoma down to Houston. There's a $150. You know, in my opinion, $150 load. That's what you get paid to move trailers around a yard. That's not, you know, that's not you're going somewhere to do work, in my opinion. There's an $800 load. There's a bunch of $200 little loads, some short hauls. There's Longview to Midland. I would warn, if you're going to haul to Midland, Texas, there's nothing outbound out of Midland. You know, the only thing they make in Midland is oil, and they put oil in tank, and I'm sorry, in pipelines. So you're not going to haul anything out of there. You'd probably have to deadhead, you know, 3 to 4 hours to get over to El Paso, Las Cruces, or Santa Teresa to find yourself your next load. So right here where it says, you know, you got 121-mile deadhead, you know, count on another 200 and change, almost 300 to get into El Paso. There's Irving, Texas for $200, and these are all pretty cheap. Unfortunately, this didn't let me sort it like by pay, but you can see there's quite a few loads there. That was the bottom of their list. Oops. This is Coyote. Unfortunately, Coyote also doesn't show pricing. You have to bid. All of their loads is based on you provide a bid. But for the sake of you guys seeing, you know, there's definitely freight. There's Dallas to Oklahoma, Dallas to Las Lunas, New Mexico, Lancaster to Reno, Lancaster to Wyoming, Lancaster to Denver. Oops, did I miss? No. And then there's Sunnyvale, Texas to Tempe, Arizona, Grand Prairie, Texas to Pasadena, Texas, Carlton, Texas to Pittsburgh, PA, Hutchins, Texas to Pearl River. Hutchins is right there in Dallas. It's you would say it's part of the Metroplex. Wilmer, Texas to WA is I'm not even sure where that is. My apologies. Fort Worth to Topeka, Kansas. Fort Worth to PA. And that's the bottom of their list. Let me see if on the map, yeah, see it does show where they have loads. And then as you zoom out, it kind of tries to make it like an individual hotspot. And so they got loads surrounding the LA market, and I keep doing it that way. So this is TQL. I'm sorry, XPO. I have a client named XTO, and I always mispronounce the two. So at least these guys show the rate, although the rate isn't outstanding. There's a load heading to Albuquerque, New Mexico, $1.95 a mile. You can bid on these. You know, if you don't like the rate that's there, you can put in a bid. Here's $2.23 a mile, heading out to Louisiana, $530. There's $1.67 a mile. That seems awfully cheap for where it's going. No one wants to go up into the snow. There's a load to Costa Mesa. It says bid only, probably because it's a ton of miles. It's very light, and they probably want to just see how dumb someone can be and go too cheap. That would be my opinion. 15,000 pounds of building materials going to Grapevine from Jacksonville. It's almost $3 a mile, but it's a very short day. I don't think you make enough money on that. Here we got a load going out to Denver. I think considering you're probably going to be fighting some weather, that should be over $3 a mile. There's a load going to Mount Vernon, Texas for $458. There's a $1,900 load heading to Henderson, Nevada. I guess it's not too different from where Amazon was heading in that direction, but I think the Amazon load will go up. In this particular case, I would say Amazon's going to end up paying better than this load. These guys will probably barely get you into the $2,100, $2,200 range, and I'm pretty comfortable with Amazon's load getting up closer to $3,000, maybe even $4,000. There's a $2 a mile load heading out to Indiana, machinery parts. There's another load heading out to Henderson, Utah for $1.94 from Waco. There's another one. There's another load going to Sparks. There's another load going to Sparks. Apache Junction, Arizona for $1.39 a mile. Wow. The problem is if people take these loads, they get to feeling like, like that becomes the new norm. So there's a load going to Oklahoma for $2.10 a mile. There's a beer load going out to Memphis. Again, I think that should be at least double that. There's a load heading out to Brookshire for $2.15 a mile. $2.26 a mile. There's another load coming to Memphis, beer. Now on these beer loads, when they say 45,000 pounds of beer, what they do at most of these places is they will load you up, I want to say with like 26 pallets. It doesn't say it on here, but I think that's about what they put on you. I've done beer loads a couple times. Let's see, it doesn't say. But what they'll do is they'll put like 26 pallets on you, and then they'll run you over their scale. They'll have a scale there, and if you got room for one more, they'll stuff another one on you, and you'll end up leaving there like at 79,350 pounds. And so if you decide to pull a load like this, just be aware, go in there with a full load of fuel so that they don't max you out, and then when you go fuel, you end up overweight by a couple 100 pounds. Anyway, that was all they had. This is TQL. Again, the problem with TQL is they don't show you their rates. But for the sake of seeing just what's in the market, there's Buffalo, Texas to Columbus, Ohio. At least it's a light load at 11,000 pounds. The problem is TQL will price that accordingly, and it'll be really cheap. They're kind of known for doing that. Tyler, Texas. There's a load out of Dallas heading to Illinois. There's one heading out to Oakland, California. I don't think I'd want to go to Oakland. The traffic is horrible. Honestly, I think I'd rather go to New York before I go to Oakland. I know that sounds backwards, seeing how I'm from California, but I've driven through Oakland. So there's a load heading out to Illinois, 40,000 pounds. Kansas, 44,000 pounds. Union City, Georgia, 45,000 pounds. Kent, Washington, 44. Union City, California for 41 and change. Another one to Union City, 46,834. I think that's pushing it for most. I know a lot of the longer wheelbase hood trucks can't scale that much. My empty weight is like 31.9, and I know some of these hood trucks are much heavier than that when they're empty. There's a load to Arcadia, California, 40,000 pounds. A load to Vernon, Texas. Another load to Monday, Texas. These are probably some of the same ones we saw in the other application. There's Little Rock, Arkansas, Grand Prairie. Anyway, the idea here was really more to show there's quite a bit of freight. And so, you know, we should be able to get a little more decent rates, unless there's just a ton of trucks not working in Dallas right now. There's quite a bit there. And that's the bottom of their list. And like I said, unfortunately, these don't show the rate. And, oh, yeah, this one seems to be everyone's favorite. This is DAT. So this top one where it says Fort Worth to Fort Worth, I believe that's going to end up being like a round trip. They're going to send you somewhere and then bring you back in. It's a van with teams. The next one is Grand Prairie, to Harrison, Oregon. $6,500. That's right at, a little over $3 a mile. Not too bad. You're probably going to encounter weather, and it's a whole bunch of fuel burn because you got hills to climb over there. So there's another load to Oregon, $6,500. Another one for 65. There's a Seattle, Washington for 5,000. Tacoma, Washington for 43. I think that's a little cheap for going that area. Oakland, California for 3,400. Livermore, California for 2,600. Utah for 25. LA for 2,300. Georgia for 1,800. That's close to. That's a little over $2 a mile. There's a Denver for 1,800. There's Ohio for 17. There's Louisville, Kentucky for 17. I wouldn't be afraid of that. That'd be a nice little load. There's a load going to Illinois for 15. Kansas for 15. That's almost $3 a mile. I'd consider that. Yeah, it's on the heavy side, but like I said, my truck's a little light, and so I can scale, 45 without issue. There's a Kansas for 1300, Illinois for 1300, another Illinois for 1300. There's El Paso. That's not a bad rate. Um, Freight going to El Paso is usually really cheap, and so $1,200 um, for that market, it's cheap compared to anything else. But if you're from El Paso, like a couple of my guys, um, that's better than I get for them a lot of times, especially considering it's only 11,000 pounds. And so there's Kansas for $1,200, Hobbs, New Mexico for $1,100. That's not a bad rate. There won't be much leaving Hobbs, so you're going to have to deadhead out of there. There's a plant up in Roswell that usually has okay paying loads, so you may deadhead that way, or go to El Paso are going to be your two options really. There's a Kansas load for 1,050. There's a load heading up to Oklahoma for $1,000. That's well over $2. Omaha, Nebraska for $1,000 is cheap, but my experience with Omaha, Nebraska has always been good paying loads. There's a chemical plant out there. They make fertilizer. I tend to get loads of totes leaving there because I have a tanker endorsement. They usually tend to pay very well. They struggle to get those done. If any of you guys can go get that tanker endorsement and you have dry vans, there's substantially better pay, and some of these loads sit there for days and the brokers can't book them because people don't have the tanker endorsement. I'd consider getting it. So there's a load to Mississippi for $950. There's a load going to Carson City, Nevada, $900 for, wow, it's a partial. They're only taking up 10 foot of your load, but partials are hard to do in dry vans. I don't think it's easy to put together partials for a dry van. LaPorte, Texas for $850. Houston, Texas for $850. Mississippi for $800. Another Mississippi for $800. Lubbock for $800. Memphis for $725. San Antonio for $700. There's a North Carolina, doesn't show the rates. The rest of these aren't going to show rates because I have them in order by highest payout to lowest. And so I'll scroll down just so you guys can see there's an abundance of loads here. There's loads all around. There's really no way to, or no reason to be giving away your services and doing stuff at a giveaway rate. There's plenty of freight to be pulled. You just got to negotiate your best deal. And I'll go ahead and scroll to the bottom just to illustrate, and that's the bottom. And so I think that was it. TQL, I don't remember if I opened that up right now or not, but they don't show rates. It's just going to be a big empty dry board. Anyways, guys, that's it for a Sunday. I expect tonight sometime the Amazon loads will go up. If it were me right now working without a dispatch service, I would probably be looking at some of those loads heading to Memphis from Dallas. I would be looking for those to jump up into like the 14 to 1600 range, and I would book one of those. I'd avoid going to the northeast for a couple more days till we're sure that storm's done. But that's just me, my style, how I operate. Yeah, that's kind of what I would do. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good Sunday. Be safe if you're traveling. Whoops. Install later, buddy. Don't interrupt.